anybody out there says enough is enough? Come on, anybody out there that says enough is enough? I think we done had enough deaths behind domestic violence. I think we done had enough of our young men and young women being killed and being sent to prison because of domestic violence. I know I am. I'm willing to say enough is enough. Can somebody yell back to me? Enough is enough. Can we do it again? Say enough is enough.
Domestic violence has got to stop, men. We're supposed to be the men. We're supposed to be the ones to take care of the community. We take care of our family. And if you're a man walks away. If there's a situation where you are so mad that you just got to do something, get up and walk away. Cool off, then come back. Domestic violence is not needed. After she was killed in 1989, I started volunteering at Peaceful Paths, this agency back here. I've been on that board of directors ever since, and I will not get off it unless they kick me off of it, because we've got to make a difference in this community with domestic violence. Teresa, Dr. Harrison, and her crew do an awesome job. You just heard of a nice announcement they made about a campus they're going to build, but every one of them would tell you today, if they could lose their job because domestic violence went away, they would gladly do so. Domestic violence, and men, if you are a man, and it looks like there's quite a few out here, stand up and don't be afraid if you see domestic violence happening to do something about it.
Many of the people here still adhere to, where the values were that no matter what, you don't lay a finger on a woman. You don't, regardless of the provocation or what the initiation, you just don't go there. And that men who believe in honor, men who believe in culture and in strength, and who adhere to those values would simply never go down that road. There's a lot of other interesting things that we know happens, and we've heard of things called the bystander effect, where, as strange as it may sound, the more people who are witness to a violent act, the more that there are, the less likely that any one of them will step forward to stop it. And so that sort of puts the burden on us that if you actually see some act of domestic violence, where, again, regardless of why it's happening or any type of justification, the burden is really on you as the witness to try to make sure it stops, to call the police, to call 911, or if necessary, to actually move in yourself and remove the violent party from enacting violence on a woman.
Good afternoon. What I would like to say is, again, domestic violence. You've heard this over and over again, particularly men I'm talking to right now. It is not the manly thing to do. I'm gonna say that again. It is not the manly thing to do. Men on the move, this is the first time that you did something like this. I'm pleased that we're making a step in this direction, because when you start talking about domestic violence, you're not just talking about two people, you're talking about who witnessed this particular act, and generally, particularly with young people, which I'm happy to see in the audience today, what they see, they'll be. And so what we're trying to do is stem the flow of this. And the other thing that I'm asking men to do is man up. If you see an act of domestic violence, we ask you to ask them to stop. Give us a call. Because again, what people see, they'll be. It is just too much of it occurring, not only in Gainesville, but across this great nation. And what we have to do is come together and as men and say this will not happen. It is not being a man to beat on a woman. I'll say it again. It is not manly to beat on a woman. It is a crime. It is a crime, and it's a crime that will, with our agency, and I see Chief Book there, and I see Chad from Alachua and the Sheriff Department, we have mandatory arrest policies for it. and we certainly will enforce it. But we can prevent all this by working together and preventing this from occurring.
And the only reason why her husband did not beat and kill her is because she had a neighbor who stepped in and said, don't put another hand on her. Don't hit her not one more time. And I think that if we can help one another, if we can say that I am my brother's keeper. I shall not allow my brother or my sister to be beat on, to be hit on as some punching bag. Come on, somebody say enough is enough. Come on, say it again, enough is enough.
Domestic violence is more than physical violence, and that's the point that I want to make sure that everyone understands here today. It's easy to see the marks and the injuries that people suffer externally, but this is also about psychological and emotional abuse. Imagine, if you will, yourselves going home being concerned about what you can say, what you can't say, how you can act, out of fear that something might happen to you physically or otherwise. That's traumatic. That is abuse as well. I learned a lesson a long time ago in life. We, all of us, everyone here, is a compilation of the choices that you make in life. Every choice that you make has an effect not only on yourself, but on the people that you have relationships with. And I'm not going to speak very long because I think what the other gentlemen have already said is important. But make the right choices. The right choices is not only, which is obvious, not to commit domestic violence, but the right choice is to educate our youth, to make sure they understand what domestic violence means, that it's not only physical violence, that it's emotional, mental. Those are huge factors. Education is vital in this arena.
I'm a Christian, I said first. But being a Christian, you know one thing, that God is love. Because God is love, that means if you profess to be a Christian, that means love is not abusive. Love is kind. And I believe in agape love. So because of that, if you believe in that, then you believe that you will not be abusive. You will not hurt another man, child, or other. And if you witness those acts of violence against another person, then you're not professing your Christian beliefs. So I'll leave just on that note. And that's very simple. We don't need to make it complex. It's simple. If you're a Christian, you believe that God is love, that means you don't believe in domestic violence, you don't believe in any kind of violence at all. Thank you and God bless.
Now he said, I want you to respect women, but his actions said something else. And my point is, children learn from actions, not by words. It'd be real easy as a parent if we could just tell our kids what to do and be done with it, but that's not how it works. Another example is this father here's his two sons that share a room together. They're fighting, they're arguing, they're rolling around the floor. You know, one took the other's video game, and they're all into it physically. And he comes in the room, and he says, "I told you boys not to fight." And then he starts kicking and punching them and breaking them apart. And what's he doing? He's using violence to stop them from being violent. So what's the message he's giving them? That you solve problems with violence. And that's the wrong message. So as men, we need to be mentors. We need to be appropriate role models for our sons, for the younger men in our life, for our nephews, for other men. And some of that carries over with our peers. If we've got a responsibility, if we're part of a conversation and some men are talking and they're being inappropriate towards women, we should step up and say, I don't buy that, I'm not with that, that's not the way to behave. So mentoring and being responsible and taking that to our community is huge. The other component here is, what does it mean to be in a good relationship? Relationships should be empowering, they should be nurturing. We don't own our partners, okay? We don't own our partners. That we're there to nurture, to empower, there's an equality.
I just want to take a few minutes and just give you guys an outlook on domestic violence or intimate partner violence just from a glance. There's a woman that's being battered in an intimate relationship every 15 seconds. 3 out of every 10 women will encounter a domestic abusive relationship during their lifetime. Every minute, there's a woman that is domestically being abused. Every day, 3 or 4 women would lose their life to intimate partner violence and domestic violence every day. These numbers are intolerable to our society. Even for us as men to be able to take a stand and be accountable and recognize that not only does these statistics affect our homes, but it affects our community, it affects our society. Domestic violence is an $8.3 billion effect that affects our country every year. This is one of the reasons why I decided to be an advocate and to be on board. Because I realize as a husband, as a father, as a pastor, as a mentor, that I have a voice. And I want to do everything that I possibly can to be able to set an example, not just only in my own house, but in every opportunity I can to come in contact with any man or any woman. Domestic violence is not a culture issue. Domestic violence is not even a gender issue. A domestic violence is an act of unkindness towards individuals in a way to where we believe or think that this is how we can communicate. And it's intolerable. We have to be able to take a stand. We have to be able to become more aware of this domestic violence act. What I proudly have come here today, not only to acknowledge it, but my eyes have been made open. My mind has been made clear. I've made a vow. I'm taking a stand. I'm a men on board. How many of y'all are men on board today once again to take a stand against domestic violence? Say enough is enough. Come on, say it one more time. Enough is enough.